Hello, welcome to another episode of Venture Prince here on YouTube, a show I just started doing in 2026, where twice a week, Tuesdays and Thursdays, I release episodes where I dive into some, in my opinion, of the cooler photos I've taken throughout my lifetime of taking photos. I got into photography way back in high school. I had a graphic arts class where we got to use an actual dark room, and I super uh, enjoyed that, learning how to actually develop film, not just taking it to a store or these days online or just obviously through your phone into a some kind of chip. But and then I eventually took a few classes in community college as well and got a little better at it. I don't know if I could do it today. I think you'd have to give me about a week before I could probably develop a film, a roll of film today. But it was something that I had a lot of fun doing, and I've always been very interested in photography. So this year, 2026, I decided I wanted to start a little thing where I would post a picture twice a week on my Instagram, which is eVentureCast, every Tuesday and Thursday, that corresponds with an episode that I'm putting out here on YouTube, where I talk about that photo in a little more detail and get into some of the stuff that I liked about it, when I took it, where I took it, and all that. I have did mention last week, I broke the fourth wall a little bit on one of the last few episodes I recorded, that I often record these, although they release every Tuesday and Thursday at 7 p.m. on YouTube. I often record them on the same day and prior to those, so I can record them and then produce them and then put them up and schedule them for YouTube. So I am actually not even home while I'm for when these episodes air. I will be down in Lakeland, Florida, watching the Detroit Tigers. As a Christmas present, I'm taking my parents down to Lakeland, Florida, to watch a spring training Tigers game. So figured I'd wear my Tigers stuff, even in as I've been known throughout my life to be a theme dresser. I do like to. I very particular usually about what I wear. There's always some underlying reason why. Okay, so with that in mind, let's get into this week's or this. I always want to say this week's, but I do two of these a week. This episode of Venture Prince, I took this photo on a fall day, Friday, October 9th of 2020 at 9:10 a.m. It was in Maple Hill Cemetery in Calumet, Michigan, which is in the Keweenaw Peninsula of Michigan. Anybody that knows much about Michigan, the Keweenaw Peninsula is another peninsula in the Upper Peninsula in Michigan. Sometimes I've been known to call it the Upper Peninsula of Michigan, and it's one of my favorite places to go. Before I get too into the photo, why don't we do this where I show again on the screenshot of where exactly it was. And as you can see, I mention these every episode, but I take a lot of these blue marks and reddish marks, and as the more red they get, the more photos I've taken in that area. And I've taken a lot of photos in the state of Michigan, but there's still some areas here in the middle and some areas here on the western side of the UP I could venture off to. This whole Michigan should be full. I love the state of Michigan. Whenever I go on trips, I often regularly just wear stuff from the state of Michigan. So I've got some areas here in Michigan that I could still take some photos of. So for the photo today, up here in the upper peninsula of the Keweenaw Peninsula in northern Michigan, I kind of paused here. There we go. And as you can see now, in the upper peninsula, I've got plenty of places I could still take photos of. So that's just for another time. Hey, gives me more opportunities to take different photos for future episodes. And as you can see, we're getting into there's Houghton City in Hancock, Michigan. And this is kind of what creates the Keweenaw Peninsula. Houghton here, and this area north of Houghton up to Copper Harbor is what's known as the Keweenaw Peninsula of Michigan. And there we go a little closer and there's Houghton again. And there's just kind of a little river that goes through here, which is, I guess, what makes it a peninsula. Although I don't know that I think it connects, I guess. They call it the Keweenaw Peninsula, so I suppose it is. And as we get closer in, this is actually the city where it says it's at, although it's funny because it kind of looks closer to this city, but for whatever reason, that's what it was listed as. This cemetery was listed in that area. I took a few other ones in the areas you can see, and there it is, Maple Hill Cemetery off Cemetery Road in Keweenaw, Michigan. So back to the photo. For one, anyone that knows me, and it's become such a cliche, I think, to say that fall is your favorite season. I think it's almost become too popular. So, like, I feel like at this point, saying fall is your favorite season seems very basic, but it is, and it has been almost my whole life. It just even I'm a big runner, and running in the fall is so amazing because it's like the leaves are out, it's not warm anymore. You can usually wear like a long sleeve shirt, maybe even shorts still, but you're not cold, but you're not hot. I've always loved cemeteries, especially old cemeteries, and I love the leaves changing. So this was a trip. I took a trip up in October of 2020 to the UP to visit some friends. Uh, and This is the day I had camped the night before, and I was waiting to meet them around, for like lunch or noon or something like that. So I was killing some time because I always wake up super early. I've gotten worse about it even as I've gotten older. I wake up at 4 or 5 or 5, 6 in the morning sometimes, but sometimes every day. I don't know why I said sometimes. Sometimes even 4. So I'm always up before anyone I'm with. If I travel with people, I'm always up first. So then I went out on a drive and I took this image of an old a cemetery in the, like I said, the Keweenaw Peninsula of Northern Michigan. I like the stone here. I wish, if I'd known when I took this 6 years ago that I was gonna be talking about it, I would have written in notes what was on this stone, but I do not know. But I love that it has the tree changing colors in the background, leaves on the ground. Of course, I love leaves on the ground. I love any fall. It's almost impossible to take a bad fall picture. So again, I took this in Maple Hill Cemetery and right by Calumet, Michigan, in the Keweenaw Peninsula on October 9th of 2020 at 9:10 a.m. And so, yeah, it's funny because when I go to cemeteries, I'm not like a person who loves cemetery. I like old ones. Anything where you see new stones, I never really care about. It's when I see old ones and see like, oh, born 1750 or born 1860. It's like, oh, damn, that's crazy. So yeah, I have another one I'm gonna share in a future episode from a cemetery, but it's not this cemetery. It's from a different one on the same trip on the same day even. But yeah, here it is, a photo I took of this fall cemetery in fall of 2020. All right, that ought to do it, I think, for this episode. Of I guess I could do this one more time too, show exactly where it was, and just to give more one more brief thing of context for it. There it was. So that'll do it for this episode here of Venture Prince. I appreciate it that I'm starting to see some likes on the YouTube page. Super cool. And people do seem to be watching. Not, I'm obviously not internet famous yet, but there do seem to be a few people watching, which I super appreciate. Uh, as always, all these pictures I take are shared onto my Instagram which is eVenturecast, eVenturecast Instagram. They're also available for purchase. I do a podcast. I've spent, as anyone that's watching the episodes, I once spent all of 2022 driving around America in a van trying to do an open mic comedy show in all 50 states. And I did a podcast about that. That's for free, available on iTunes and Spotify, eVenturecast, if you search it out. I also spent the last few summers working and living on the very famous tourist island of Mackinac Island in northern Michigan that is famous for not having any cars, bikes and horses only. And I've worked with some horses the last few years. So I talk about that in my podcast. If you're also looking to support a local or struggling artist, I have a Patreon page like everyone does, and it is eVenturecast on Patreon page, and it has about 350 ish clips, audio and video clips of talking about what it's like to live and work on a tourist island like Mackinac Island, or what it was like to drive around America telling jokes to strangers in a minivan. So I super appreciate that. That'll wrap up this episode of Venture Prince. Thanks everybody for checking it out. And the other thing, by the way, I should mention this before. If you're enjoying these at all, please share the show and let people know about it. I would appreciate that quite a bit. All right, I will see you in the next episode when I'll be wearing the same shirt and hat. See you.